Hello, hello. This is Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and this week we're going to do something a little different. It's been a while since I've done any of these unboxings, and I'm a little late to the party, especially with the Streets of New Capenna stuff, but we're going to start off a new way of doing my unboxings and upgrading guides for the Commander precons that WotC releases. This week we're going to start off with Cabaretti Cacophony, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's in the box, and then tomorrow I'm going to do the upgrade guide on two separate videos rather than doing them on the same video. And the reason for that is the amount of time it takes to do all of it together is just too long of a video, and I want to shorten it. So we're going to open it up and see what's inside. I'll show you all the cards inside, explain what the theory is behind the deck, and then tomorrow I will show you a small upgrade guide for it. So let's begin. Now, there's something new with the Streets of New Capenna decks. These come with something special, and I will show you that in a minute. So we have that. Here's the deck box. It's a nice cat on there. And then inside the box is actually something pretty cool. I will show you this. So, it comes with one of these. This is a collector booster sample pack. Alright? So that's cool that they did that. Then, of course, we have the normal, life counter, a little, what used to be a playmat, now it's just a throwaway, I guess, and then, of course, the divider. So, what I'm going to do for this one is, before I start opening the deck, this is supposed to be a collector's booster sample pack, so let's see what's inside that first. This will be my first time opening one of these, so, I'm not expecting much out of it, because it's a sample, but, let's see what we get. Alright, so, we've gotten Spar's headquarters, and that's pretty cool, because it's one of the tri-lands. And then we got a waterfront district, and it is foil. So, not bad. I got two triomes. No, not two triomes. One triome, and then a foil, one of the new duels that come into play tapped. So, it could have been better. Not horrible, I guess, but we'll put them aside, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at what's inside the actual deck. So, let's open it up, and I'll show you all the cards. The theory here, from what I can tell, because I had to look it up and see what the cards were, looks like it's a politics style deck with a little bit of token making. My first assessment on this was that it has an identity crisis. When I looked at the card list, it looks like it could have been either or, and it would have been a little bit more streamlined, so I will go over that in the upgrade section, but let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. We'll split the deck in half, and we'll see. Let me zoom in. So this is the commander that they chose to be the on the forefront. It's Kit Kanto Mayhem Diva. So this deck's color scheme is white, green, and red. So everything in here will match that. And then this one, add another white to cast it. It's a 3/3 cat bard druid. And Kit basically says when it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. And then at the beginning of combat on each player's turn, that's every opponent plus your own, you may tap two untapped creatures that you control, and when you do, target creature that player controls gets a buff of +2/+2 and trample until end of turn, and then you can goad that creature. So that's where the politics comes in with the goading. So goading just means that you force that creature to attack, but it has to attack somebody other than you. Okay. So let's see what else they got in here. The secondary commander that they had in here was Fabian, Boss's Confidant, and I believe that this is the one that I would choose to use if I was playing this deck, and I would focus it more that way. So she is obviously the white, the green, and the red, and then 3 of any for a 3/6. Creature tokens you control have haste, and then she has parlay, which is at the beginning of combat on your turn. Let's see here. Each player reveals the top card of their library. For each land card revealed this way, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Then creatures you control get an additional +1/+1 buff until end of turn for each non-land card revealed this way. And then each player draws a card. So there's politics in this one, and then there's a little bit of group hug because you get to allow other people to draw cards. You don't really want to do that most of the time. If you build the deck right, though, it's okay. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. They gave us a Rumor Gatherer, so it's a 2/1 for 3, and it allows you to scry 1 whenever another creature enters the battlefield. If it's the second time that the ability actually resolved for the turn, though, you get to draw the card instead, so not bad. Sizzling Soloist. I'm not going to read every card. I'm going to let you read them yourself, just because almost every card in this deck has a wall of text on the ability. What I will say is that he looks very familiar to me. It's like the artist was looking at a CV Wonder picture when they drew it or painted it. Cabaretti Charm, and again, wall of text, but it creates a token. So The Courtyard is one of the lands that came in the Streets of New Capenna, where it comes into play. You sack it to go get a basic land of a type. Every single wedge, I believe, had one of these made. So Intangible Virtue, again, gives all your creature tokens, +1/+1 and vigilance. So that's where I would go with it. I would go with token creation. Orzhov Advocist, you can go ahead and read that. Path to Exile for removal. Beast Within for more removal. Cultivate is good ramp. We're in green on this deck, so ramp is an option, a good option. Harmonize to draw cards, so it's fixed all your major issues when it comes to Commander in 3 cards right there. Technically 4. So it's removal, ramp, card draw. Leafkin Druid, more ramp. Same thing with the Sakura Tribe Elder. I don't know what the price of this is now, but before it was put into some precons, this thing was actually quite expensive, monetarily speaking, for a common. Wood Elves, more ramp. Boros Charms, some direct damage and some permanent protection on your side. Or this deck will also like to go wide, so giving things double strike is not a bad option. Arcane Signet, a Bloodthirsty Blade. This helps goad creatures on your opponent's side. Remember, that makes it, this is one of the few equipment that can be equipped to your opponent's stuff. Commander Sphere for color fixing. Fellwar Stone again for color fixing. Let's see. Boss's Chauffeur. It's one of the newer cards. So, what this one does, it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on equal to the number of creatures you control. Other creatures, not himself, unfortunately. So if he comes into play and is the only creature, he will die, apparently, because it's a 0/0. And then when he dies, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen token for each +1/+1 counter on him. So that's why I said when I do the upgrade section later, it's probably going to be a go wide token theme with the other guy as the commander. Grand Crescendo, more token creation. Master of Ceremonies, Wall of Text. So you're going to have to sit here and read that for a second. But basically, it's just at the beginning of each opponent chooses one of 3 things, where each of you get to choose whatever you want. So then each player creates whatever they chose, which would be a 1/1 token. I think it's draw a card, and what's the third one? Treasure tokens. So it's just a lot of stuff. Indulged in excess, so whenever creature you control attacks this turn, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen token that's tapped and attacking, which is odd to say from a red card creating a green and white token, but whatever. And then excess, let's go ahead and look at that real quick. Has Aftermath, cast a spell only from your graveyard, and then create a treasure token for each creature you control that dealt combat damage to a player this turn. That's where the push comes from treasure tokens, is a lot of these cards do that. Life of the Party. It's a 4 to cast 01 with first strike, trample, and haste, and then has the ability to gain +X/+0. This is where I said token creation for this deck seems to be, because he gets bigger with more creatures out. Rose Room Treasure, an alliance card. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token, and then if this is the first time the ability has resolved this turn, that's when you do it, and then otherwise you may pay X when you do it. Rose Room Treasure gets deals X damage to any target. So this thing really tends to lead towards a lot of token creation. You got Seize the Spotlight. You can go ahead and read that. That one's not really as important to me. That's more treasure token creation. Crash the Party, another token creator. Killer Service. This one, all these have Wall of Text. Creates food tokens. Scepter of Celebration, it's equipment, and deals damage to a player. You create tokens. Vivian Stampede, each creature you control gains Vigilance, Trample, and Melee until end of turn. And Melee says whenever a creature with melee attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each opponent you attacked with creatures this turn. So basically what that means is if you attack one, each creature gets +1/+1. If you attack 2 opponents separately, they get +2/+2, 3, +3/+3, and so on. And at the beginning of the next main phase of this turn, draw a card for each player who was dealt combat damage this turn. So it's a buff for going wide, and it helps draw cards. Best Soul Nourisher, whenever one or more other creatures with a base power and toughness of 1/1. Remember, base. So if they have +1/+1 counters on it, that doesn't matter if their base power and toughness is a 1/1. So her base right here is a 1/1. It enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on her when it enters the battlefield. And then whenever she attacks, each other creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on her. Cabaretti Confluence, not really, You can read it here. Some of these cards are just really long, and it's going to make my video go long. Prosperous Partnership, more token creation, and then you can tap 3 untapped creatures to create more treasure tokens. So it's obvious some of the additions that you need to make here to make this deck go a little bit faster and a little bit better. False Floor, it's almost like a pitfall trap, technically. Call the Copper Coats, more, I think this is token creation. Yeah, you can read that. Duelist Heritage, whenever 1 or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn. Feldar Retreat, I actually like this card, especially with some of the cards that are going to be shown later in this deck. So whenever you put a land into play, you can either create a 2/2 cat, or you can put a +1/+1 count on each creature you control, and until end of turn they gain Vigilance. Fell the Mighty, destroy a creature's power greater than target creature's power. So you target something that's got a 2 power, and hopefully none of your stuff has higher than that, and everything that does have a higher power dies. Martial Coup, another token creator, Agitator Ant. I'm not really a fan of Agitator Ant, but he goads creatures and gives them +1/+1 counters. Kazul is actually one of my cards that I wanted to start using. I have a Perforos deck that I want to actually add him to anyway. So whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if you're the one it's attacking, create a 3/3 red ogre creature token unless the controller of that attacking creature pays 3. Good in Perforos. Can't wait to put that in there. Magus of the Wheel, basically it's a Wheel of Fortune on a stick. Outpost Siege, one of those ones where you get to choose what you want, so you can either have it so that at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top card of your library and you may play that card, or whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to any token. You get to choose which one you want for this enchantment to be. Zerzoth, another token creator. It creates devils. Love devils. Arasta, the Endless Web, also creates tokens whenever your opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell. It gives a 1/2 reach token. Awakening Zone, every upkeep, at the beginning of each of your upkeeps, you may create an 0/1 Eldrazi spawn that you can sack to add a colorless. Beastmaster Ascension, big buff, big buff. I'll let you read that. That's actually pretty cool. Champion of Lamholt. So this one is has the ability to be unblockable in some instances by itself, and then whenever creatures come into play, you put counters on it. Like I said, this really lends itself to the go wide theme. Sandward Convergence is actually a card I've been hoping to pull from things that it could come from. Even if I'm buying collections, I've yet to find one. I love this card. It's expensive, it's 8, but it has it so that creatures with flying can attack you or planeswalkers you control, and then at the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green warden token. It's great for a lot of things. The fact that it stops a lot of flying, you know, it's just great. Scoot Swarm, if you haven't seen Scoot Swarm yet, you need to go on Arena because it's everywhere, or at least it was. It's a landfall dude that helps create a lot of tokens, Shamanic Revelation is a card I put in a lot of my budget decks because it's card draw for green and pretty good at that too. Sylvan Offering, more token creation. You can read that real quick. Thundering Baloth is something I was hoping to get a hold of myself for a deck I have. So it's a 5/5 trampler that if you control your commander, it gets +2/+2, and other creatures you control get +2/+2. It's great for go wide token strategies. Artifact Mutation, good reprint. Destroys an artifact. It can't be regenerated if it's a regenerating artifact, which, you know, isn't really that much of a thing now, but when this was printed, originally it was. Then you create Sapling tokens. Assemble Legion lets you amass a horde of tokens. It's a really good card. I have this in a budget deck as well. Or Mutation destroys an enchantment, and now you get to create tokens. It's kind of like the Artifact Mutation. Camaraderie, so gain X life, draw X cards, and then creatures you control get +1/+1. So card draw. Gahiji, I don't know how to say that, the Honored One. Whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents or a planeswalker, an opponent controls that creature gets +2/+0. I mean, that's one of the ones I would probably remove. March of the Multitudes, another token creator. This one, at least, you can convoke all the other tokens you've created, so you can make it and double your tokens. Selvala. So Parlay, and her Parlay is each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card that's revealed this way, you can add a green and gain a life, and for then each player draws a card. More Group Hug Politics. Idol of Oblivion is a great card. I actually like this card in all token creating decks. So you can tap it. It's 2. That's why I like it. It's 2 to cast. And you can tap it right away to draw a card if you've created a token this turn. And then you can make a created token if you wanted to. I would never do this part myself, but you could. Some lands here. We've got the green-white slower land, I guess you could put it. Castle Ardenvale helps you create tokens. Castle Embereth helps make your attacking creatures buffed. Actually, they don't even have to be attacking, which is kind of cool. It just gives creatures +1/+0 for each for 3 and tapping it. Cinderglade, Slow Land, Mountain Forest. Exotic Orchard is in every single deck that comes out now. Fortified Village, it's the reveal card from your hand that is a Plains or a Forest version. Dual Land, Game Trail is the green-red version of that. Mossfire Valley, which was the card that they screwed up and put 2 of in one deck last Commander set. Rugged Prairie, this is the filter lands that were reprinted in, what was that set that was reprinted in? I forget the name. I think Modern Horizons 2 was. I like the filter lands myself. This is a filter land as well, but it's a different style of filter land. Temple of Triumph. I put these in all of my budget decks, so you should know what that is. Windbrisk Heights has Hideaway. I'm not a real big fan of Hideaway myself. Some people like it. You can take a look and read it. I'm not going to read it out. Soul Ring in every Commander deck. Ash Barrens has Light Land Cycling. Command Tower. Jungle Shrine is the Tri-Land before Triomes were a thing. Myriad Landscape lets you go get 2 basic lands and put them into play. Naya Panorama. It's the Tri-Fetch, I guess you could say. Path of Ancestry. Really good for a lot of tribal strategies. Thriving Buff, and then of course they're going to have Thriving Grove and Thriving Heath. They're the dual lands that come into play tapped, but you have to choose the second color. And then it looks like a whole bunch of basic lands, and I'm sure that there's going to be... Oh, they gave you some cool lands in this. And usually they don't do this, but they gave the cool full art lands. I'm actually shocked they did that. A couple of them anyway. And then of course the new version of the oversized card is the really thick card for the Commander that was on the front. And then some tokens. So... Oh, and they gave you some punch-outs as well for +1/+1 counters and some, other fun stuff like goated tokens. So that's what's inside the deck. Like I said, it looks like it's going to be a Politics Go Wide / Group Hug deck, and that's just a color identity. As far as the deck goes, I give this probably about a 6 out of 10 out of the box. It does need a lot of good upgrading, but it starts off pretty well. I'm going to go over some of the upgrades that I would choose for this deck, but if you wanted to play this out of the box just as is, I mean, it'll be a fun deck because you're going to goad some things and make people have to do things they don't want to do, but it does need some upgrades. So that's what I got for you today of what's inside this box, or what's in the box, for the Cabaretti Cacophony Precon from Wizards of the Coast. Join me again tomorrow, where I'll be doing an upgrade guide for this deck as I will be doing for the future of the rest of the precons. So have a good one. See you there tomorrow. Thanks for watching.